with that, welcome. We do this call because MSPs asked what was new with the platform, what we've been working on, what things we fixed, and they wanted to do a little R&D or rob and duplicate from their MSP peers. With that, just a couple reminders that I do every week. This is a highly technical call for folks that are building automations. If you're a decision maker, you don't quite get what's being talked about, that's okay. This calls for the folks building automations. Feel free to listen in and learn with all of us. If you are building automations, a couple things. I can count, this is my favorite part, by the way. Let me count. Let me see how many MSPs that have successfully built an automation without ever asking a question. Let me count. 1, 2, 9, 0 MSPs have successfully built an automation without asking a question to anybody. So if you want to succeed with automation, jump in Discord, jump in the coop. You may find yourselves on a Discord server that's not the main one with the coop. Make sure you're on the main one too, so you can post your questions there. If you don't want to post in the coop, feel free to ask your questions in your private channel. Also, if you're not a question asker, but a question answerer, feel free to help people in the coop that are asking questions. And I've seen a number of you keep growing every week, answering folks in the coop. So thank you for your help there. Please remember to add time savings to your workflows. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Ash. What's going on, Ash?
Hello, thank you. Can you hear me all right? I'm on new headphones. Everybody good? Perfect. Awesome. Thank you. So in spirit of Thanksgiving and Black Friday and all the Canadians and Britons, why did I say that? That was weird. Anyways, yes, Adam, you're right, Rule Britannia. But also I want to share, we do have a few demos and probably some time to talk, but we've got some good talking topics as well. So I want to, we're going to jump over to Daniel with an A, who's going to do our marketplace and dev updates for us.
Thanks. We got a good week this week. Got a couple little good features here.
You think you're better than me just because your name is also Daniel?
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I come for the hijinks. Well done.
That was fantastic.
We'll go
that
over
was so
to
smooth. I loved it.
Canadian Daniel with an A. So.
All right, here we go. Hopefully you guys can see my screen. This is the real dev update with this probably the second best Daniel with an A, if we're going to be honest with ourselves here. Okay, so we actually had some features launched this week, both on the dev side and on the marketplace automation side of things. So let's talk about them. We have 4 new integrations this week. This just goes to show how little Americans work. We have a Xero integration, QuickBooks integration, Bamboo, and Nodeware integration. They're all available for you now. We were testing them behind the scenes, kind of beta sort of scenario, and we launched them for everybody this week. So that's 4 new integrations, and we are going to be moving forward with more integrations like these, where they're going to be accounting and HR style, and more to your like client-facing, I guess, integrations that we'll call them. So you can start to experiment with automation as a service potentially. These are all related to integration or to an announcement that we had, I think it was at IT Nation, for automation as a service integrations. We also added some functionality. Has anyone
tried those integrations yet? Has anyone clicked install yet? I don't know if we have enough people.
No, not yet. You have.
As soon as I get home, I'm trying it because those sound great.
Totally, yeah. I've already had one person reach out to me about some ideas that they had related to just showing like some revenue sort of information on their own internal dashboards and stuff like that. But there's a ton of different ideas out there that we were collected when we were trying to get inspired for why we would build these integrations. Another thing that we've added this week is functionality to remove the SAS token from Microsoft Azure generic request headers if it's used in the URL. So you can add that token to the URL, and if it's in the URL, it was breaking because it would also be in the header there. As for bug fixes, we fixed suggest values on org mapping for a bunch of integrations here, WebRoot, Zero, Adigy, and Google Workspace. And we also fixed an error. Some of you may have seen in the past couple of weeks not authorized errors, especially with some of your forums users. We found the root cause of it. They were being created in the database before our permissions system, and it was causing some discrepancies between the user actually being available, not authorized to see that page. And so we have that properly synced now. Bunch more integrations that are in the works. We have Bitdefender, we have a GitHub integration. This one is actually interesting for me because it will help us internally at Rewst to automate some of our processes. But this is also the start to some functionality that's going to let us or allow you to back up some of your Rewst assets. So you can use the GitHub integration, and then we'll have like an action to export workflows or forms or any just call them generally exportable assets, and you can have them uploaded into GitHub. Or really, if you have a custom integration or another place that you want, you can export it there as well. Granular forms permissions. This is actually, I didn't mark this correctly. This is actually beta testing right now. So we have a couple of people who are using this and trying it out. We have it available internally that we're testing things out for as well. We have an IT portal integration, a Cove integration, as well as app builder cloning and syncing, which has been moved from QA to staff review. So this, again, is kind of like we're doing some alpha or beta testing. We've tried to clone and sync apps to a few customer environments, and it is working. We have a Crush Bank integration, SQL database integration refactor, Connect Secure, and Pax8 refactor that are all in the works as well. The Pax8 refactor is because they are going to be, I guess, turning off their API key authentication, and they're moving towards OAuth. And Connect Secure is the same sort of deal where they're going to be decommissioning their v3, and we are implementing their v4. Okay, on to the marketplace updates. We had a good week as well for marketplace. We added some additional functionality to the Halo support for Get Service Tickets sub workflow to the Halo support side of things. We expanded the Create GDApp relationship sub workflow as well to include non-CSP customers, and we updated the marketplace just some descriptions for contact sync feature, the description for one of our crates as well, just to be more accurate. We also had a whole bunch of bug fixes this week, which is outstanding for a short week. A lot of stuff was moved through the pipeline. I won't go through each and every one of these, but yeah, check out the Crate Marketplace updates for a list of all of the bug fixes that were released. And then we're still working on our top 10 crates and also getting you app builder apps. We're really close to this. Like I mentioned, the cloning and syncing is something that's underway from a dev side of things, but we have 3 apps. One of them is pretty much ready to go because it's a pretty simple app. It's the forums portal, so it will show, you can put it in front of your clients and it'll show what forms they have access to based on granular permissions. We have an all-in-one client portal and the operational analytics portal as well. Those are a bit more heavy, I guess. The all-in-one client portal runs off of your new user ad or your user onboarding workflow. And then we have top 10 crates that we're working on as well. And we're just trying to bring those up to our modern automation best practices and standards to make sure they have proper logging, make sure that they're using sub workflows and documented well. So yeah, we have 4 that are currently in the works, and we have more on the way for the rest of the year. But that is it for the dev and marketplace side. So back to you, Ash.
Thank you both. All right.
Sorry, can I ask one quick question? The GitHub integration, will we be able to import from any other GitHub when we have the exporting available? So imagine that Zentop, Brandon creates a GitHub for all of us that we can just get all of our workflows from there, or will it only work with the ones that we've connected ourselves?
You muted.
So yeah, sorry. So yes, with the GitHub integration, we will have. So I think what you're talking about is going to be follow-up. So we're going to have a GitHub integration, and then as a follow-up, we're going to be doing like import and export of assets. So that won't be available for this GitHub integration, but it should be available in the next, I guess, quarter or something like that. I don't actually have specific deadlines, but it'll be a follow of that, Kelvin.
Okay, awesome.
Is
Thank
it
you.
going to be like the? Oh God.
No, you're good, Alden.
Is there any like integrations that that have like the drop down menu, and you can have like multiple multiple versions, multiple overrides for it?
I'm not sure I understand. Can you maybe ask that again, or
So
kind of different way?
like with certain integrations, custom integrations, you can have in the top left, you can have like a drop down. You can have your like an integration upgrades essentially. Is it going to be multi-instance
Integration?
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, it should have multi-instance available. I see what you're saying. Yeah, or multi. Yeah, yeah. I know what you're saying.
I think that
will be
answers
available.
Alden's this question.
Cool. All right. So we do not have an education update today. We are going to jump over to our demos, and we will have Andrew first, if you're good with that.
Yep.
This is your first time demoing with us, right?
It's actually my first time having time to join Open Mic as well.
And how long have you been a Rewst customer?
Oh gosh, it's been like maybe 6 months. We're pretty early in this, so I can give a quick intro on that.
Sounds good. Yeah.
So I had been hearing about Rewst from my PAX 8 peer group, and I was at Beyond in Denver, and there was a couple guys over at the Rewst table, and they were like, they had all these shirts and stuff, and I was wanting to get Rewst anyway, but they were like, oh no, we only have like one shirt left, and my peer group coordinator was like, dang, I really wanted a shirt, and I told him, guess what, guys, I'll make you a deal. If you give my peer group coordinator your last shirt, I'll sign up. So they did it. So kind of
Good
a fun
one.
little thing there, but we've really been, I've been pushing towards working a lot smarter. I've been growing my MSP, and we've got a client that went from 70 to about 150 users, and they're building 2 new buildings and planning on quadrupling in size over the next year. So I was like, okay, I've got to leverage some automation. So to start, I told the clients, hey, we're setting up an automation platform. What do you guys want to automate? What would help your processes? And a financial investment firm that we do the IT for is like, hey, we've got this paper form that people have to fill out when they want to make trades. Some people trade every single day with like 15 securities. Can you automate that? And I'm like, sure, that sounds pretty simple. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. Because I ran into an issue with multiple approvals in a single workflow. How do you approve 5, 6, or 20 different items that can have an approve or deny for each one? Started off with, let me start sharing my screen up here. So I started off with this guy. You know, one form, right? What could go wrong? So we tried to handle the approvals as a sub workflow where each security would go into this sub workflow and generate a webhook, and then we'd have an approval page that you approve or deny each sub web, each one using a sub webhook. At first, that kind of looked like a good idea. Unfortunately, we were running into problems where, because this workflow completed, by the time someone actually got to the approval page, the webhooks had already been fulfilled. So that was causing a bit of a problem for us. Later, it just started working for no reason. So little bit of stability issue. So I ended up rewriting it, and it now looks like full screen so that I can go back to this. It now looks like this. So just a simple kickoff, notify the team, wait for an approval, and then send emails out. That's it. Very straightforward. And I'll just give you a quick demo of this. So this is the form that they have on paper that I've duplicated here. So you got to pick the date of the trade, name of the person, and then the end user's email so we can notify them later. And then securities list. So we use the list function here. So just grab some from S&P 500. So let's say they want to trade each of these. They're saying, hey, yeah, I'm verifying that I'm not going to trade until I get these approvals. They have to affirm that. And we get this lovely little execution. So within moments of submitting the form, the approval team gets an email. It has a hard copy of all of these in case anything goes wrong in the workflow, like somebody double clicks on this and something goes wrong, they can fall back to a manual approval process. So if anyone's from Rewst, this may look a little familiar to you guys. I may have ripped off your company portal. Thank you. So what I did is I've got radio buttons on each of these that we can use to set approval and denial status. So instead of processing multiple webhooks, we're just pushing it all into a single JSON payload. And we submit it. Come back to the workflow and we can see everything else is processed within moments. And then the end user gets an approval list saying, hey, here's the status of all your stuff. The compliance team also gets a copy. And I am working on a pretty print version that's going to be easier for the end user to read. So I'm going to be, I've sanitized all of the clients' names and stuff out of this. I'm going to be putting the export for all of these into the Discord and the chat. So if anyone wants to play with it, feel free. Quick thank you and shout out to the Rewst Rock team. They helped me a lot more than they probably should have with this. So thank you for your guys' patience.
So I take it you asked a question.
A lot of questions, like 2 or 3 hours worth of questions, easy. But it was phenomenal working with the team, helping, kind of get me through these little hiccups here. But kind of on the back end, I'll just load the context real quick. So we put the securities list into a list, captured the email, set up a, so I set up 2 webhooks actually in here. The first one is here. So this is the webhook that the submit button sends the payload to. And then this is a separate webhook to load the approval page, because when it says creates a one-off webhook, it literally means one-off. If I go back to this email and I try to click it again, it says webhook already fulfilled. So I ended up having to make 2 webhooks, one for the load and another for the submit. So, yeah, so they confirm they're ethical. There's the approvals, and then we smash it together with the list. Now
That's
that I've done
amazing.
this once, it's a lot easier to, like once you understand the whole context and how things flow in the transitions. I got a huge help from the team. One thing I was trying to do is publishing the webhook results. This doesn't work. You have to use the transition and do a data alias in the transition from your webhook to pass the payload of the webhook if you're posting. So just quick shout out. Thank you to the Rewst team. You guys helped me get that last hurdle done, and yeah.
Thank you. No, that's awesome. Thank you for showing that. What we were talking about a little bit earlier, but can you explain a little bit about like what made you use Rewst for this purpose? Like, what's your background with traditional process? Like, how'd you visualize this?
So honestly, this is the first time we've really taken over a process for a client in terms of automation. We looked at, I've used IFTTT for years, just personally to scrape NASA's image of the day for my desktop background.
Yeah.
So basic automation like that is one thing, but this whole thing, I'm brand new to this. But we looked at, Zapier, Microsoft Power Automate, because we were like, oh, we can keep it within their tenancy, and gosh, what else? Oh, someone on my team is a database dev, so he's like, oh, I could write a an on-prem access app for that, or we could use SharePoint lists. The client took a look at all of those options and all the interfaces. As soon as they saw this form, just like the sleek background, the fact that you have to log in with, an SSO to make sure it's an employee filling this out, they were sold. They were like, I don't care what it costs to use this platform over the others, because we had some problems getting this process going. So we were like, we might not go with Rewst, but they were like, no. I'll pay an extra $1,000 for you to develop this in Rewst to keep this interface. So they loved it.
Well, I guess for the other folks, the blatantly obvious is, since it's your Rewst account, unlike their Power Automate instance, like if it's in their Power Automate instance and they leave your MSP, they get to keep the automation.
Yeah.
If
This
it's
is gonna
it's your IP kept with your MSP.
Yeah. Now, I'm the type of guy, if they were moving to another provider who also had Rewst, I'd give them the workflow. I'm not going to try to keep an unhappy client, but definitely it kind of helps keep the relationship a little, tight.
Value. Bring in the value. Love it. Thank you. And thanks for presenting. Hope that we can see some more of the stuff that you build as you continue to grow your Rewst use. All right. Next up, we are going to have Logan. Logan, did you fail to convince Garrett to do it, or did you just decide to?
Yeah, I think I failed to convince him, but on the plus side, we do
I'll
have a
cheer
pretty nice
Garrett
flow
on
that he
chat.
made. Yeah.
Hear it next
Um,
time.
So this flow is actually swinging from a customer-facing context over to an internal one. So this is more so for reporting on your own MSP, trying to make sure that your technicians are being as effective as they can be. So basically what we're starting off with here is getting a pile of tickets that are in a set of statuses, mostly anything that's not closed. So if they're actively working on it, if it's waiting for a response, putting out a big list of names. Then we come down here. I believe he is formatting it into a proper list. And then we are going to tally up all of the notes on the ticket so we can start to see how much back and forth is going on this ticket just in email communications. A big problem we started noticing is that techs, instead of just picking up the phone and calling the end user just to get the ticket done, they would drag it on with email using poor communication skills and making it take 8 times as long as it should. So we're basically keeping an eye on how many responses we're getting on this ticket. And once we pass a certain threshold, I believe he's actually doing that back here. Nope, I'm wrong. I didn't build it, but he is tallying up how many tickets we have, how many notes each of them have, and then putting them on a report email. So he builds some HTML around a table, also some titles, image as well. This is a lot of stuff that Alden and Chris are very good at, building HTML inside of Rewst, but I've noticed Garrett is starting to pick up on a lot of their lessons quickly, which I love. So then we go ahead and send that out currently to the service manager and to a Teams channel email. I did show it for a second, but it is domain restricted, so even if you try. And then the flow ends out. He's got this currently running on every weekday. Looks like 7:30 a.m. And if we come over here, we can take a look at what it looks like once it comes into Teams. It gives us nice clickable links on each of the tickets, an ID, and how many notes each of the tickets has on them, so we can get a quick gauge on how long it's running. He's also got it built out to look quite nice in an email, and it's also brought up some ideas on how we might be able to turn our email sending into a subflow that unifies some of the styling. But yeah, it's a good way to keep track of tickets that are going a bit longer than they should and take action on them.
Thank you, Logan. All right.
Any
I'm
questions?
just looking to see if there was anything in chat. No. Any
Brian.
questions otherwise? Boo to your good security. Okay, we are, I think, Alden, are you home or are you not? Okay, so does it, I guess we can
I'm
chat
right
a
on the
little
corner,
bit.
but I do need to set my laptop up. So
Yeah.
if someone wants to talk, please do. It's fun.
Okay. So we can have a little intermission for if anybody has any like topics that they want to bring up or anything that they saw that they want to chat about. I personally love the diversity in the things that we see on this call, like from like super scalable to like you're not using anything but the actions that Rewst provides you, and you're still bringing them a lot of value. So I think it's something that I'm always willing to talk about. But if anybody has any questions or anything.
Yeah,
I'd
I'd love to ask a question. So I feel like I've been kind of out of touch. I haven't been super tapped in. I've been juggling a whole bunch of other things, right? But I saw, I've been suggested to join the app platform channel on the Discord, and I did see it in the interface. So, just I haven't gotten to it myself, but I plan to look at the documentation afterwards. I have it pulled up here, but just how's everyone's experience, or any like hot tips you can share, or just anything in general? about app platforms. I haven't gotten in there yet, so any ideas that you want to throw out there would be cool.
What's
You,
the wildest dream you've ever imagined?
Have you been around for any of the AMAs, or have you seen those in there?
No, I saw the announcement. I guess they're on Wednesdays. Is that right?
Yeah,
I haven't been. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I said I haven't been to one. I'd love to join though. So maybe next Wednesday.
So it's every second Wednesday, and it's at 1:30 Eastern. But what I've started to get going is we're going to have a page that has a list of all the AMAs. So we have them all on YouTube. They're unlisted right now, but we're going to get those listed and shared. So you should have access to all of our kind of history of AMAs. And because there's some really cool demos in there. And there's kind of two ways that we've seen people really build. One of them is, and probably the more powerful way, to be quite honest at this point, right now, is using HTML containers. It's obviously a lot more technical, and you have to be pretty comfortable with HTML, JavaScript, CSS. But you can build stuff that, like, you can pretty much just import your own CSS library and build some like very, very modern looking kind of crazy apps. I think it was it Reed and did he use App Builder, or did he just use like a webhook to build his game thing?
Webhooks. Yeah.
Webhooks, okay. But you can build that sort of stuff. So we have people like Chris Williamson who are building crazy applications using HTML containers, and we have some great applications that we've built using both HTML and native components. But then we also have people like Sam Adams from Peak, who is among many other incredible builders has built an end user portal, a very, very like functional and diversified end user portal using all or mostly Rewst native components. Like data tables. If you're going to focus on learning something, I would say learning our data tables is the big thing, and asking questions about those, because James Kim, our engineer, it's kind of his brainchild, and he's done a great job on those as well. So
Noted.
Yeah.
Noted. Yeah. Very cool. Thank you. Yeah, sounds like a lot of interesting things happening.
I would suggest playing around is kind of the biggest thing, because you don't know what you can do until you see what you can and can't do. And if you feel like you can't do it, ask questions, and more than likely one of us has ran into it and has figured out how to either work around it or make it do what you want it to do. There's a lot of hidden buttons. I'll say that much.
There is also
the whole bar on the right. I missed the bar on the right for probably 2 months.
What were you going to say, Adam?
I was just going to say there's also a Hello World project on the docs site that takes you through basically recreating our forms portal at the very basic level. So it gives you that intro to kind of data tables and stuff as well as actually creating the site and pages.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That'll be a great way to get some hands-on experience.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't even think of that, but that is definitely the best way of getting started. Followed by probably looking at some of the AMAs if you can make time for that, and then also just experimenting, like Alden said. I don't know why I didn't notice earlier, but the other Daniel with an A's background is the exact same as mine. That's why I laughed in the middle of it. I wasn't laughing at any one of you. Great.
Yeah, I snagged that at the app builder meeting, and then just did a object removal of your head, basically.
I've just become a Rewst meme at this point. If you look at, like, we use Shortcut internally for our like project management, and you can set, for some silly reason, you can set like custom loading icons, and each loading icon is just a picture of my stupid face in like in different scenarios. And yeah, glad to be a meme mill. Anyway.
Thank you. And thanks for the question. I don't know. I'll let Alden tell us when he's ready. If anybody else has any questions in the meantime, we're kind of doing Q&A in the middle here. Or if they want to show off something, if you've got something and you've just been like sitting on it and now's the time, let us know.
Yeah, one quick question about webhooks. So one of the problems I was running into, as I mentioned in that kind of first iteration, was having the webhooks already be fulfilled during a workflow. Is there any way to have a webhook that's usable more than once and won't just immediately die? Because my concern is when we send this to clients, it's going to go through their email security system, which will open the links to check for, stuff, and that may break our workflow.
Do you mean
so,
like? Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, sorry. So I'm not on my laptop, so I can't send an example, but hit us up on Discord. But what we tend to do in that scenario is just create a webhook trigger, which will then stay the same. And at the top of the workflow, have a no-op that basically says if ctx.body.whatever is passed through, which is the webhook, then go down this other path. And then you basically get a single webhook that then you can do whatever logic you need to.
I think that there's some open mic examples of that too that we can probably surface up.
Okay.
For sure, but ping rock support in your Discord as well, and they'll be able to throw a load of examples at you as well.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, it's nice having the workflow actually working, so now we can iterate on bug fixes rather than core functionality.
Yeah, it'll be fun as well, because save a screenshot of the workflow as it looks right now, come back to it in 6 months, or and frankly in 4 weeks, and it will probably be completely unrecognizable.
Yep, I've been doing that as I go, screenshotting forms and workflows just to kind of look back and go, oh my gosh, what was I doing?
It's so good for the ADHD like crazy switch focus things too, because suddenly I'll be like, I need to hyper focus on exactly where everything is lined up for the next hour, and that's all I care about.
You noticed that, did you?
No, that's me. I was talking from my own experience.
No, that's what I did just before the demos. I went and prettied up the alignment of the flow.
It's funny. Looking at the attendee list here. If anybody has anything else, or if they want to chime in, I will do the 10 seconds of silence again.
I'm here. Yay.
Has anyone gotten into 3D printing by chance? Just curious. I just bought like 3 weeks ago, and it's my life now. That's all I do. It's 3D print. Oh yeah, I can see. Yeah, now that you've changed your background. Yeah, there's quite a bit going on back there.
Yep. Yeah, I'm pretty deep into it, so yeah, it can consume you if you're not careful. It's great as an augmented hobby, but it also can become a hobby if you're not careful.
Which I got my first one. I don't really have a hobby, so it's fine for it to become a hobby for me.
There you go. I got mine in my first one in 2010, and that was the only choice for it to be your full hobby back then, because they didn't make them really. So yeah, it took a lot back then, but they're nice now. They're great.
Yeah, it's a blast. All right.
All right, Alden.
I'm just getting OBS pulled up so I can have a webcam. See, Rewst. Where is it? There we go. So my little demo I got today is a feature of Rewst that I did not use for the longest time. I don't know why. But that is workflow completion handlers. And it's kind of one of those things that for me was always just out of sight, out of mind, and or scary. So I decided to go straight for the scary thing. Also, yeah, I'm here. Give me 1 second to get OBS alive. Sorry, I just got home from a 2-hour drive. Let's see here. We got me. Let me unfreeze my webcam. Windows, so Windows key. Windows Shift left.
Your virtual camera's not turned on if you think it is.
It isn't. We're getting there.
All right, just making sure. I mean, I'm doing the exact same thing, so.
Yeah, and I'm also split between 2 computers. So, A, we got virtual camera, and B,
there we go.
We unfreeze the camera.
Daniel, is that how you have like Duck Hunt in the background?
Yep. Yeah, I'm using OBS as well, with a background remover and then a scene with my background. So there's 2 layers of me here, and I slide the stuff in between.
Oh, okay. Wonderful. So, completion handlers and stuff. So my workflows for the most part are all kind of surrounding Teams messaging right now. You go main workflow, and workflow. And I do know my screen isn't being shared, so we're on top of that as well. So a lot of stuff going on here. Teams share. Cool. Okay. So of course everyone knows me and my giant workflows, but for the most part, typical Teams message, you get a message, add user to the database if they don't exist. Otherwise, just keep doing stuff. But for what we do, my Teams messages will kind of take a few minutes to process, and so at any point, as soon as the workflow really kicks off, I send a please wait message, which just nice little please wait, grabbing your results, so people are aware that the bot's doing something. And then from that point, it chugs away, and then it spits out results. And then I was manually everywhere having a thing that deleted the please wait message when it was done, so people would know it was done. And that was great. And then it started to scale. I mean, as you can see, it scaled pretty big. We even get into scaling more with lots of spaghetti. So trying to remember to delete messages everywhere was getting to be just a nightmare. And so I went ahead and clicked on this button up here to see what this actually does. And lo and behold, I'm able to actually be efficient now and not have the same action repeated 100 times. So whenever this workflow, this big old Mondo workflow succeeds, we move straight on to our success one, where it gets an auth token, and then it deletes the message, which all you got to do for that is just pass the message ID straight through with a delete instead of a post, and it nukes the message from the chat. And so kind of in the main workflow, I just capture the sent message, the original please wait, and I just capture its ID via my please wait alias. And then at the very end, that gets passed through as a completed workflow.ctx.pleasewait.id. And basically that's all it really takes to get that going. And then conversely, though, I also have a failure one. So if something goes wrong, I need to change the name, but nice little whoops, we had a problem, try again, make sure you didn't type things wrong, because this is typically like a 500 to 600 step workflow. And so if it breaks midway through, people don't know, and they'll come to me and say, oh, it's frozen, or whatever. And then I get to unfreeze the bot by rewriting the workflow. So now we have this whole kind of everything. It's getting past that 80%, the 80% syndrome, where you don't leave a workflow 90% of the way there. This is at this point kind of Turing complete. And if I was smart enough to clear some of my chat history, I could share this, but more or less, let me just clear out this Teams message here. Send this guy, and we send this guy, and then we send this guy a few times. And we send that just a couple times. All right, so share this guy, and can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Good. So I'm gonna go ahead and say, React. What's the weather today? And I'm gonna please wait, grabbing my results, and I forgot that I had a custom response for myself, but you see there was a please wait message, and it did attempt as hard as it failed, and got rid of that message just to let me know that it did complete the workflow. And so that's the long and short of the fun, useful things that you can have with a workflow completion handler. Even if it fails, you can log it to a database or whatever, but it's cleanly failing properly. And so that time, my 7 minutes worked.
Awesome. And that brings us to our wrap-up time for any questions, Q&A, anything for Alden. You trigger the is typing. You must be able to, because the bridge can do it.
I would assume so, but I don't know how. But yes, as far as Andrew's question goes, slash commands exist in Teams very easily. When you're putting together the bot framework, there is a JSON area where you can put in canned responses, and in Teams, in the bottom left of the chat, it'll actually have a clickable menu that has all of your slash commands.
Yeah, I was thinking, just wondering if it made any sense for Rewst to publish like an official one that we could just, authorize and add, or if it would be better to have individual bots for like workflow specific tasks.
So I want to answer that from like our perspective, if you want, whenever you're ready.
Yeah.
I lean towards the side of kind of doing your own. But I did see that Rewst does have a send a Teams message node now, I think. I could be talking about
the other thing I was going to say is that if there's going to be some difficulty in doing it so generically, yet having it applicable to whatever your use case is, I thought of like, maybe that's what I'll do is I'll spend time building out this base bot that we could use for all these different purposes. And the minute we started that, and we're nowhere near what I've seen other people do, I was like, yeah, this isn't easy to make that generic. If you're going to want it to interact with it, you're going to want to be able to like get very specific and tell it what you want it to do and go off and launch another workflow to go do that. And that's part of building modularly and getting good results back. If you try to do it all like sort of self-contained at Rewst, giving you this like one little nice little package, you're going to very quickly end up realizing that even if they did that, you're going to desynchronize it from the crate because you're going to want it to do more.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense because you have to publish the list of commands and so on. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And kind of sharing out what I've got going on here. Like I'm taking basically what Jim was saying. I went a little bit too deep, and so right now we've got test cases. We've got is Alden going to break things? And then it goes into ChatGPT, and then it goes into a sanity check, and then trying to have a bot keep a cohesive conversation. Being able to have a chain of messages is even, I'm not going to say a headache, but it's you've got to then account for the context. You've got to remove the message, because if you respond to if you respond to a Teams message, Teams or the API will see it as both messages. It doesn't. The API doesn't split out the messages at all, and it's just like any span block. And so for that case, I'm actually having to see that it's a block quote in the contents. I mean, a little bit ugly. And then from there, a whole separate workflow for if somebody accidentally replies instead of doing something different. And a lot of ChatGPT usage, a lot of ChatGPT usage, which whoever it was that suggested using ChatGPT to come up with your ChatGPT system commands, I want to thank you, because it is life-changing. Somehow coming up with this manually is not as easy as it looks.
Why wouldn't you ask a machine what it wants, right? Ask questions. That's how you learn. You don't just assume. Hey, you're an AI. Tell me how you would want me to talk to you.
Are we going to start having personality tests for AIs so we know how to talk to them?
Oh, I have different custom GPTs with different personalities based on what I'm looking for. Yeah.
I mean, during my talk at Flow, I discussed that as well. I've got a therapist GPT where, I mean, it acts as more of a therapist than it acts as a listener, not really an answerer.
So very quickly, I just want to throw this out there because I think it's quite funny. So I love ChatGPT and use it all the time for all kinds of stuff. But when I started doing the Rewst training, I went through a month of doing Rewst training before I realized that Jinja was like an already existing templating language that I could ask ChatGPT about. So I think like I spent a month like going through and just trying to like learn everything from scratch. And then in the next like 4 days, I was like, I could have shortcutted the whole month, not realizing it. But
I just posted a link in chat. There's one of the things I was the exact same way. It was frustrating. I had to keep reiterating to it. No, I don't have Python access. No, I can't do this. I actually have list comprehension. I don't need to do this. So I posted in the chat one of the ones I made. Sometimes you need to remind it of its instructions, but it knows all of our custom filters and it knows details from our documentation. So I've heard a lot of feedback that it's way better than just randomly talking to ChatGPT. So there you go.
Do you update it, Ash? Do you keep it up to date? Because I've had that for a while and it's definitely helped me. There's no two ways about it. It's helped me. But as Jinja for Rewst has evolved, have you updated it?
It was last updated like a month ago maybe, but eventually one day, like the stuff comes from just like a JSON API call. So it just looks at that, and when dev updates that, it's updated. So
got it.
But I will say one secret that Chris Williamson taught me last week is to tell it the date in your prompt, because you never know when you're going to need to know the date. And so in all of my prompts, I've got this line, which is super useful because otherwise it thinks it's sometime in 2023. I believe like September is when ChatGPT 4.0 thinks it is. So yeah, just adding that the current date is utils now at the end. Absolutely amazing hack.
Hey, folks, it's that time. Top of the hour. Thank you for the folks that demoed, especially the ones that did it for the first time. I know it's super stressful, but we only had like 40 or so people on today, but that's still way more of a turnout than I expected. I want to thank everyone for taking a break on your holiday if you are US based. With that, thank you, Ash, and have a good weekend. We'll see you again next week.
Since
Bye,
it's
everyone.
a Canadian Rewst takeover, I included something for you guys.
what's that, Amanda?
It is a
There
Rewst
you go.
Santa. The inflatable is 10 foot in my front yard.
Nice.
Why don't you have snow? I have snow. I'm annoyed.
I don't.
All right.
I have sunshine.
I'm just snow everywhere. All right.
I wish.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Toodles. Yeah.